Let me just find some place to put it down. And yep, perfect. Oh, fuck. Is here good enough? Yep. Hello. I'm just a guy. Yes, that's my YouTube name. And today I will be power scaling or talking about the Sonic oddity known as Arthur, made by the gacha tuber SGF. Spoilers for people who watch the gacha series, reaction series one last time. P.S. Don't crash out in the comments. It's about power scaling and shit. No, anyways, please enjoy the video. Part 1, the experiment. Now, I love this OC, but I don't really know the lore behind him, so forgive me, SGF, if I slander him. I will do the current 2 seasons and episodes so far. So, of course, these events kick off in Season 1 after Part 0, where the Duke kind of put Lord X on Fraud Watch. So, Arthur, being bored, decided, oh, I'll kidnap Sonic and friends, plus Eggman and Metal, because why not? That was basically our main group for the first 3 parts, in which they reacted to Xena, Lord X Imagine, and Fleetway. But in between Part 1, Metal suddenly disappeared, in which during Part 2, where in the custom song made by SGF, Lord X and Margin have already grown aware of a second party, but during their conversation, which is in the form of the song, Metal Sonic showed up at the end of the song. So, of course, we have to logically go on to part 3.5, in which Arthur teleported a new group into a separate room. Of course, part 5, Lord X fought Fatal in an attempt to recruit him. And then part 6, it was basically the classics. The classic Sonic, classic gaming, classic Knuckles, Tails, Eggman, and Metal. Now this proves to us that the author has access to multiversal transportation. This will come back later. And so, during the events of part 6 and 6.5, we meet Arthur for the very first time. And during part 6.5, 1 out of 2, he kind of slimed out the classics, basically sending them back with a full memory wipe, or just slimed them out, legit killing them. So, anyways, Sonic fought the author, and they were on the same level of abilities. Not saying that they are. Like, I mean, yeah, the author is technically a part of the canon storyline and is an oddity. But even with Lake and even with Blaze and Shadow's help, it just didn't mean zilch. Of course, then Lord X, Margin, Faker, watch part 4, and Metal Sonic showed up in the fight. Now, of course, Arthur realized that this is getting off script and this isn't part of the ending that he wants, so he pulled out a book. And that seemed to do something, as the universe resetted all the way back to the beginning of part 1. As it turns out, as I theorize, the author hasn't done this song and dance once. He probably has some twisted motive to make a fitting ending to a story. He also noticed the flaws in the writing and wondered what caused it until he saw him. Now then, before we move on to part 2, I need to explain what I saw about, well, the author. I know that he technically does exist in the Sonic canon, but for the sake of the argument, we're just gonna say that he is a part of the Sonic canon, just nobody ever realized him. And also, he has the ability to use warp wings, so that's why I didn't mention it in part 1, because I kind of forgot it in the script. So part 2, New World. Season 2 opens up with part 0, a group of fan media characters, and after a few songs, Tyrios or Tyrios, I don't know his fucking name, got put in a Sharingan Genjutsu by the Duke. As he basically explains the whole thing with Arthur and shit. And that basically kicks off the main events known as part 1. Now, I don't want to be in depth of the thing, so I'll just skip to the fight. So Arthur rolls up on Xenophanes, and they get to scrapping. But Arthur seems to be a tad bit more stronger, specifically sealing Xeno in a warp ring. Now in part 2, Lord X, who seemed to remember season 1, catches the IDW cast off guard while they're reacting to him, and he was about to, well, basically explain everything, but Surge saw this as an attack, launched towards him, so he instinctively raised his hand to block the attack. Now Arthur caught X last second and kind of sealed him in a warp ring, resetting the entire room. Now, part 3 showed more Arthur feats, as he basically put the villains inside the reaction room, in which the villains that were captured seemed to be in between their inevitable defeat or death, thanks to the blue blur, with the sole exception of Eggman and Sage and Metal, of course. In fact, let's get back to Metal, who seemed to also retain memories from season 1, thanks to reacting to Margin. And then the Duke took over part 4. Of course, Arthur caught him last second, and they started fighting. So you might think that you might be thinking, just a guy. Just because Arthur managed to beat Xeno and catch Lord X off guard, that means he'd be stronger than Duke, right? No. It was a tie. These niggas tied. And yeah, Arthur seemed to put Duke away for now. But he needed to take a break, which leads us to part 6. Which leads us to part 5. And then part 6, after the rewrite reaction, he kind of rolled up on rewrite. And to be honest, rewrite was putting up a bit of a fight until the author pulled out the book. And thanks to further clarification of SGF, it's confirmed that they are not the EXEs aren't essentially in their world. They've just been in Arthur's dimension the moment Arthur pulls up. But the only one who doesn't seem to be affected by this is the Duke. I wonder why. So anyways, the Arthur managed to seal away Rewrite into a warp ring, also like Xeno and X. And now we move on to the current part that's being made, part 7, in which he showed he showed the multiversal transportation feat again, thanks to, well, transporting the anti-versions of Sonic the Hedgehog and friends. So yeah, that's gonna be a good episode. I don't know how to scale him, but if anything, since he's kind of close to the canon in which he could beat the EXEs, since canon Sonic the Hedgehog characters absolutely wipe the floor with EXEs, I'd say put him at like near. Without the book, I'd put him at like fucking Knuckles level. But if I were to do him without the book, with the book, I'd probably put him at like Sonic type, a Sonic level kind of strength. So yeah. Anyways, that's a rant from me. See ya.